That's probably the number one question I get asked all the time. All of us love him very much, but I describe it this way. Last month I was with a bunch of friends and we watched the walk, Nick Wallenda walk over the falls. And from our hotel suite, all I saw was first a tremendous mist and that tsunami of water, and then a man emerging from that with this bright red vest, slowly emerging from it, and one step at a time crossing the chute of the Horseshoe Falls, roaring all about him. That's what being related to someone famous is like. You try to cling onto your identity and your families while the roar is all about you. No longer are you Rita, but Jim Carrey's sister. When raising my son Marty, Mike, and Matt, my 3 nephews of Jim Carrey, I warned them because whatever they did could possibly make front page news, so don't screw up. When my eldest son Marty was killed in a car crash, that made front page news all over the world. And it wasn't Marty, it was Jim Carrey's nephew dies. Jim asked me if I wanted him to come to the funeral, not because he loved me or my son, but because he did. Because he knew it would be a circus, a media circus, and would I want that? And I said I needed him there. So he was. But he was right. It was a media circus. Right outside the funeral home, there were vans and television crews, and reporters standing behind tombstones, and in my backyard even. There's a picture of Jim at the Walk of Fame and all my family. He got his star on the Walk of Fame there. And that's my son Marty and I. In my own backyard, Marty would have loved the attention. Other examples of fame impacting my family, my boss once said to me, "You don't really need a raise, do you? You're Jim Carrey's sister." And I said, well, contrary to popular belief, I don't work because it's fun. And a doctor once asked me, I needed an MRI, and she asked me, "Really? Why don't you just go to the States? You've got money, you're Jim Carrey's sister. Just pay for it. You won't have to wait so long." That's what being related to somebody famous gets you. Now, I'm not complaining because, hey, I get a lot of great things as well. But I also had one time a person get on my bus. I drove city bus for Burlington. And this woman got on the bus and she said, "Your brother mustn't love you very much." And I said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Well, you're up here in this dead-end job, and he's down there hobnobbing with all those stars." And I looked at her and I said, "What would I teach my children if I live off his money?" I always tell Jim he's lucky. He's really lucky that I love him. Because if I didn't, I'd kill him. My family has persevered through a lot. My mom and dad had 4 miscarriages between my older sister Pat and then my brother John, Jim, and I. My dad had his own big band for a long time, and when my sister Pat was born, my dad, Percy, sold his saxophone to pay for the hospital bills, because in those days they didn't have OHIP. It's my sister in the red. Then later on in his life, he lost his accounting job. Couldn't get another one, and we ended up living, in, as they say, in a van down by the river. That was pretty much our home for a few months, and I really didn't realize we were homeless because my mom was so good at every bad situation, so we thought we were camping. It wasn't until Jim became famous that a reporter said to us, "Oh, so you were homeless?" And I went, "Really?" I had no clue. I hated the disrespect my dad was shown when he lost his accounting job. You can't eat an orange and throw away the peel. A man is not a piece of fruit. Willie Loman said that in Arthur Miller's classic tragedy, Death of a Salesman. My father and mother were amazing people. My dad persevered and did it with a smile on his face, and he gave up his dream of playing music for his family, but he never gave up his laughter. He was always the king of the one-liners. And when Rodney Dangerfield met my dad, he called him pretty much every week after that, and they'd banter back and forth and shoot one-liners. It was the weirdest thing, let me tell you. But it was awesome. And my dad, when Jim first started out, wrote a lot of jokes for him as well. My mom, Kathleen, was a talented singer, artist, and interior designer. She was funny as well, but she was more subtle. In fact, she liked to freak you out. So we'd be sitting at the kitchen table having dessert on a Sunday night, and she'd take the cherry cheesecake and start to throw it. So then it'd be an all-out war of flinging cheesecake everywhere. And even now, when somebody puts cheesecake on our table, it's like, oh, that's trouble. That's definitely trouble. But Mom also suffered from depression, so every once in a while, we'd come home from school as little kids, and she wouldn't be there. She'd signed herself into the hospital. And it wasn't until I grew up that she told me why she did that. And she said, because if I didn't, I'd kill myself. And she said, I couldn't do that to you guys. When things got rough, she stepped up, forgot about herself, and looked after everyone. She was a very creative woman. Her and my father always made Christmas an amazing time. We wanted to leave a can of pop for Santa one Christmas, and Mom said, well, that's fine, but suggested we pour the pop into a glass because Santa might get his beard caught in the pop can. Oh, we didn't like that idea. No, had to leave the pop. So we did. The next morning, we checked it out, ran out, and sure enough, the cookies were gone, the carrots were gone. But lo and behold, in the pop can was a tuft of white beard. And we freaked out. It's Santa's beard. Oh my God, it's Santa's beard. It's crazy. We were so excited, and my mom said, we said we had to keep it. And she said, oh yeah, absolutely. We'll put it in the freezer. And I said, the freezer? Why are we putting it in the freezer? She goes, Santa lives up north. If you don't keep it cold, it's going to disappear. He's magic. So we put it in the freezer. It wasn't until we were a few years older that she told us it was just angel hair. That's just a small example of Mom's creativity and imagination that she passed on to all of us. Yet although she was often bedridden, she really was the strength that held us together in tough times. The famous Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross once said, people are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out. But when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there's a light within. My mom was our light. Contrary to popular belief, we were not raised with silver spoons in our mouths. We were just an average family. There's a picture of the three of us, young kids, that's been seen many, many times. John was 4 in this picture, I was 3, and Jim was a baby. John's eyes are kind of teary looking because my mom just spanked him. He punched me in the eye. I don't remember why he punched me in the eye, but he gave me a black eye, so my mom covered it up with makeup. Every time we see this picture on TV, we laugh. But I suppose that's an example of Newton's third law of motion. To every action, there's always an equal and positive reaction. My sister Pat was 12 years old when the rest of us, 12 years older than the rest of us, so she always felt like an only child. Then suddenly, 4 short years, the three of us came, and she was not an only child anymore. Pat's a very talented lady. Like my mom, she's definitely a gifted artist, fantastic at interior design. But my favorite attribute of my sister is how sweet she is.